dos, tres.
We're back. We're back, bitch. Y'all. This episode 10.
Is it?
Yes.
All right, then. I kind of like panicked right now. I was like, wait, do I need to check?
Yeah, we keep skipping weeks so we lose count, but it's episode 10. So
you get it when you get it. Be appreciative.
Exactly. So, if you didn't know, I am Nia, and this is
Myra.
And welcome to episode 10 of
AntiSocialMurderClub.
So,
what's up? It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What's good?
Apparently, I'm internet famous now.
Hey, welcome to the club.
I got like mad retweets yesterday because I was watching Wildin' Out, the whole episode with Azalea Banks. Can't stand her, but I got a bunch of retweets and yeah.
You're feeling some type of way now, aren't you?
Exactly.
You got a little twist in your step, a little pep in your step.
Right, patting myself on the back. But not only that, the podcast has got a lot more listeners.
Yo, shout out to all of y'all if y'all are still listening to us and are back for this episode. Thank you so much. That was like amazing. Yeah. Like me and Nia were freaking out because like we're used to a couple listens here and there. Like we kind of ranged the average number of listeners, and this time it was just like out the wazoo type of numbers.
So I just want to say welcome to the new listeners. You know,
welcome
to the club.
Prepare yourselves for some fucked up, problematic shit.
Exactly. And talking about that, this week's is extremely fucked up.
Oh, we're definitely going to get problematic.
And we're going into great detail on this episode. So much that we only have one case.
And shout out to you, Nia, for taking the lead on this case. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All these damn notes. Like, you should see, I got a book, like, in front of me of all the notes.
Yeah, we got, like, 8+ pages. I mean, it was because last week it was Myra's birthday, so I took, the liberty
Thank you.
of doing everything.
Best
You have
friend.
You're welcome,
love you and appreciate you.
Love you, too. Just give you a break, so...
Yes, and this is definitely one of the top dogs, one of the big honchos out here. Edmund Kemper. We're finally touching on...
the co-ed killer.
Not touching on, but...
We're delving into it.
We're digging deep in the guts.
Oh my God. See what you did there. All right, so I guess we might as well just get started here. So Edmund Kemper, he had a total of 10 victims. Hey, episode 10 victims.
Yo, shout out to y'all 10 victims. Just took one for the... No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
See, we told you this would be problematic. No, R.I.P., much respect.
Yeah. But the more comfortable we get, the more reckless we get. But
look, that's just part of it.
Exactly. So yeah, he had 10 victims and he was active between the years of 1964 and 1973.
Almost 10 years, 10 victims. Episode 10. Is this a lucky number?
We need to go play the numbers after this.
Yep.
So we can get some, we win $10 million. 10 billion.
Mega Millions. What's good, bro? What's good?
I don't know. All right, so his MO was to lure young female hitchhikers, usually college students, hence the name co-ed killer, into his vehicle and drive them to a secluded areas where he would murder them before taking their bodies back to his home, where he would decapitate, dismember, and violate them. Kemper preferred the term humiliate in regards to his post-mortem activities with the corpses. So, needless to say, this case involves necrophilia. You
fucking repulsive mammal. You repugnant soul. Shout out Charlamagne.
Yeah, so this case involves necrophilia. If you don't know what necrophilia is, basically it's people...
fucking corpses.
Yeah, it's people who have a thing for fucking dead corpses.
Exactly.
But he did a little bit more... He's a little bit more obsessive, but we'll get into it about what he liked to do with these corpses. Okay, so let's start off with his childhood and life before, as we like
this
to
is
do.
Like my favorite part.
Yeah, like trying to figure out how they got the way they are.
Exactly, and like, are there any similarities? Like, what if my life took a wrong turn? Or what if what if I hit my head one day? Would I turn out to be like this? But okay, so just sidetrack here. So I was thinking, like, as I was reading these notes, Men, if they're into necrophilia, it's easy. What if a woman is into necrophilia? Is that like...
Well, so I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that the corpses get the stiffy.
I feel like that's only after a certain, like, within the first couple of hours of death. Like, if you come back, chop the head off or whatever, like, they're dead. There's no blood flow to the dick.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to fuck
like,
up.
I didn't Google it, but I was just like, let me save this question. But it's like, are there women necrophiliacs?
We can Google this, but I don't want to get too far into this. Don't want to.
Like, it was just one of the questions. Like, what if there was a woman who was out here? Like, you can't. If like there's no blood flow there, you can't. You rub up on them or something.
A different limb. I don't know. Okay. I mean, if you're into that, no kink shaming,
but kink shame. I'm just saying.
But anyway, so on December 18th, 1948, Edmund, I always want to say Edmund, the way it's spelled.
Edmund.
Edmund Kemper III was born. His name sounds real ethnic-y.
Yep. Emilio.
Edmundo
Emilio. On Telemundo all of a sudden.
Exactly. So he was a third. He was born to parents Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper and Edmund Emil II in Burbank, California. He was the couple's middle child and their only son. So they had 2 other daughters. Kemper was born weighing 13 pounds and 13 pounds. And not only was he big at birth, by the age of 4, he towered over his peers. And by the time he was 15, he was about 6'4".
Holy shit.
Yeah. Big man there. So
big man.
His parents didn't have a very healthy relationship. It was said that the two had a loveless, damaging marriage. His mom was an alcoholic, and she possibly suffered from like borderline personality disorder. She was also said to be very controlling, aggressive, and seemed to dislike men. Almost as if she preferred a matriarchal society. If you don't know what that is, basically she's like a feminist extremist. So they prefer a society that's ran about on women, and they think men are less than kind of thing. Think of what's those women? They're like mythical.
Mythical? Oh, the Amazonians?
Yeah, like think of them.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, stuff like that. So that type of society.
But I feel like this is like extreme.
Yeah. She would constantly berate and belittle the father and refer to his job as a menial job.
But that menial job kept food on the table.
And the nigga was an electricity. Like, I thought that was a good job.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it is.
Shit.
If y'all hear a burp, my bad. And if you hear the swishies, my bad too.
So, his father was actually a World War II vet. And he was quoted referring to his wife saying that suicide missions in wartime and the atomic bomb testings were nothing compared to living with her.
Damn.
Major shade. And she affected him as a grown man more than 396 days and nights of fighting on the front did.
Why didn't he just leave?
I mean, he did eventually.
Eventually, but goddamn.
But you also remember back then, divorce and all that shit was kind of faux pas.
This is true.
I mean, it still is, but it was like really...
But it's like, I feel like if a woman left a man back in that day, it would have been like outraged. But if a man left a woman, it'd just be like, well, she wasn't cut out for it, or she wasn't shit, or something like that.
Well, this will be mentioned later, but his own mother was very similar to his wife. So maybe he was just used to it. So it took him...
Oh, okay.
Took him a while to kind of...
That's where my confusion came in. Okay.
Yeah, but we'll get into that. His mom is important, you guys. So, at the age of 10, Kemper began exhibiting one of the key signs of a serial killer, which is cruelty to animals. Some say it started as a form of displaced anger or anger displacement for the constant emotional and physical abuse from his mom.
Right.
He killed the family's pet cat by burning it alive. Burying it, sorry. He buried the cat alive. Well, that's not any better.
But it's like, how do you get a cat to stay?
I feel like the cat would have fucked you up.
Exactly. You would have been scratched the fuck up.
Maybe the cat trusts him or something. And after the cat died, he dug it up and mounted his head on a spike. At the age of 13, he killed another family cat because it favored his younger sister. And then pieces of the animal was later found in his bedroom closet by his mother. Kemper had a very dark imagination. It was said that he would perform rituals with his younger sister's dolls, which included removing their heads and hands.
What? Well,
my Barbie's heads used to come off after a while, but I wasn't doing rituals with them.
Look, I used to just pop the heads off my sister's Barbies, just because.
It seemed like y'all just hated each other. I just felt like
it was more of like I couldn't play with her, and she would just make me sit there and watch me play with her Barbies. So I'd be like, "Look, you know you got no Barbies, so now you gotta play with me," or something like that.
I'm glad I'm the only child. So, because you would have caught hands breaking my damn dolls.
Oh, I caught hands. A couple slaps to the damn head and all that.
So he was also into games such which he called gas chamber and the electric chair. And I'm like, how does a kid know what these things are? But whatever.
Exactly.
I feel like his dad was probably telling him war stories or some shit.
True.
Because it was World War II.
His dad probably had like PTSD and maybe like went out into fits of rage or something like that, or like talked about
maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
So in an interview, he had said that those two games were actually his favorite games to play. So he would ask his sister to tie him up and flip an imaginary switch. And then he would pretend to have convulsions, falling out on the floor, and basically die of gas inhalation or electric shock.
But it's like, that young, you would have had to have seen something.
That's what I'm saying. How do you have a knowledge?
How do you know that you convulse during electric shocks?
Unless he just saw like old movies, that's how most of them died in any scene. But did they say where his dad was during World War II? Because what if his dad had seen some like electric shock gas chamber shit and told him about it? That's what I'm assuming, but I didn't see anything in detail about. I probably should have researched more on his dad. But
or maybe they just don't have it. Yeah.
I don't know. So, where was that? So he also had a few near-death experiences as a child. Once his older sister pushed him in front of a train. Well, tried to push him in front of a train. And then another time, she pushed him into the deep end of a swimming pool where he almost drowned.
Well, I mean,
that's how you learn how to swim.
When you got siblings, look, that happened to me plenty of times.
I mean, some kids learn how to swim that way. They just push their ass in the water.
I never learned how to swim, but I was definitely pushed in the deep end.
Do you want me to push you in the pool today?
Please don't. I feel like I had a lot more like energy and like reasons to live when I was a child. Now I'm just like, well,
fuck it. I'm just sinking to the bottom of the pool.
I ain't got nothing.
So in 1957, Kemper's father eventually grew tired of the mom and her bullshit and left the family. He's no longer a bad man. So Kemper, it's a lot of Kempers here, but the one that murdered people, took this very hard, as he actually had a pretty close relationship with his father.
I'd imagine so.
Probably because they were only two men in the house.
They were both battered.
Exactly. And he was left alone to deal with his mom's abuse. His relationship with his mother was extremely dysfunctional.
Oh, you don't say.
As a small child, she would refuse to coddle him, and fear it would turn him gay. Eye roll. Major eye roll. No, bitch, you didn't turn him gay, you turned him into a serial killer.
Exactly. Like, what?
Just dumb. Please hug your children. It's not going to
hug him, kiss him, let him know you love him. It's not going to make him gay or anything. Like, and being gay isn't bad.
Exactly.
So what's the problem?
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Please.
It's not going to make your child.
Stop your ignorance.
Okay.
That's a whole other topic for another day.
Exactly. But it just really pissed me off when I read that shit. Because I was just like, hugging your child. They've actually done full-blown studies on how, like, not giving your children attention or affection.
And it's probably why everyone in the 70s and 80s was out here being, like, murderous motherfuckers.
Because everybody thought giving their kids
exactly.
All right, so not only did she think she was going to turn him gay, she would also berate and insult him much like his father. She would humiliate him by mocking his size, calling him a real weirdo.
Isn't that a song?
Real weirdo?
I feel like there's a song called...
I don't know. And tell him that no woman would ever love him.
But it's like, he was just like... You'd think, not that this makes it any better, but you'd think that, like, she would mock him if he was, like, a teeny tiny guy. But he's, like, humongous.
Yeah, I thought women like larger men.
Exactly.
Like, he wasn't humongous as in fat. He was tall.
Exactly. And I feel like she would, I don't know. She had some issues. I'd like to know, like, more of what happened to her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, eventually, she made him sleep in the locked basement on a mattress on the floor because she was afraid of him because of his size and suspected he would harm his sisters.
Well,
I mean, if I found dead animals in my closet, I'd lock it. Well, you probably wouldn't be in my house anymore, but...
I mean, can we blame her for this single thing? Yeah. Like, look.
So, eventually... around the age of like 14 or 15, he ran away from home. So at this time, they were living in Montana. I guess after the divorce of the husband, they moved out there.
Which explains a lot, Montana, you know.
So they were living in Helena, Montana. And he ran away from there to go find his dad in California. When he eventually found him, he learned that his dad had remarried and was only allowed to stay with them for a short period of time before he was sent to live with his paternal grandparents. Their names are Maud and Edmund Kemper Sr. And they lived on a ranch in the mountains of North Fork,
California.
Yep, California. No time
Not a party.
So Kemper actually disliked living with his grandparents, and especially because the abuse kind of continued there. As I stated before, his grandmother was very much like his mother, and she would constantly emasculate both the grandfather and Kemper.
Which is wild that, like, you think that, like, if your mom was like that, you would find a way to find someone else different. But I guess it's, like, that whole comfort or, like, not being able to break the cycle.
Well, they say that your partner, you look to your parents for your partner, or something like that. Like, you find a partner that's similar to your parents.
If you're unable to break the cycle.
Yeah. But that's what they usually say.
I'm just noticing that, like, the next thing is August 27th, which is on Monday. And, like, I feel like every case that we've done is very close to the date of. It's like an anniversary of.
That's trippy.
That's weird. Like, I've noticed, like, I didn't want to say anything, but it's like, wee woo, wee woo. Creepy. Okay, so early crimes and imprisonment. Yes. So on August 27th of 1964, Kemper's grandma was sitting at the kitchen table when the two of them began to argue. Kemper stormed off, enraged by the argument, to find a .22 caliber rifle that was given to him for hunting by his grandfather. It seemed that he had planned to go hunting to let off some steam, but when his grandmother told him not to shoot any birds, he turned and fatally shot her in the head, and then fired 2 more in her back. Apparently, there were some sources that said that her body exhibited several post-mortem stab wounds caused by a kitchen knife. So clearly, there was a lot of anger and hate going into this murder.
Yep.
So basically, Ed Kemper just murdered his grandma. If y'all weren't able to keep up.
Yeah, because that escalated rather quickly.
Very quickly, 0 to 100, real quick. He then dragged her body out of the kitchen and into her bedroom. His grandpa was at the grocery store while this whole murderous scene was going on. But when he returned, he was met by Kemper, who was in the driveway, and he fatally shot his grandfather. Now, I read, and I also see here, that he actually killed his grandpa because he was scared of what he'd think finding his wife dead in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Unsure of what to do next, Kemper called his mother for help, and she instructed him to contact the police, which he did, and then waited for them to arrive. So he was questioned by police, and that's when he said he just wanted to see what it was like to kill his grandma, and that he killed his grandpa out of fear, basically. which is like insane. Like, oh, I just want to see what it feels like.
Yeah,
which I feel like is like an excuse for a lot of people. Like, oh, I just want to see what coke feels like. I just want to see what heroin feels
coke
like.
And killing someone is two different things.
I feel like so at some point they come together.
It's like killing yourself and killing somebody else. Because taking drugs, eventually you're going to kill yourself.
True shit.
It's two different things.
Deep. That was a deep one, yeah.
Thank you.
Touche.
I tried.
So his childhood psychiatrist, Donald Lundy, felt Kemper needed to avenge the rejection of both of his parents, and it was like misplaced anger. He deemed Kemper's crimes as incomprehensible and, he was 15 years old at that time.
Yep.
When he killed his grandparents?
Yep.
Damn.
Because that's when he ran away from home and all that stuff, so.
So a court psychiatrist diagnosed him as paranoid schizophrenic and sent him to a criminally insane unit of a Atascadero State Hospital.
I'm glad you knew how to pronounce that, because every time I typed it, I was like,
Atascadero? Psychiatrists sent by the California Youth Authority, as well as social workers, strongly disagreed with the court psychiatrist on his mental state. Their diagnosis and reports showed that Kemper showed no flight of ideas, interference with thought, expression of delusions or hallucinations, and no evidence of bizarre thinking, which is completely opposite of paranoid schizophrenic. So basically, they thought that he was very like precise, sane, and he knew what he was doing and all that.
Yep.
Which I also believe after reading everything. They also concluded that he was highly intelligent with an IQ of 136. They re-diagnosed him as having a personality trait disturbance, passive-aggressive type. And later, another IQ test proved that he actually had a 145 IQ level.
Yeah, so he was extremely
intelligent. Which is even scarier.
Right, because it's like he knew. There's no way you could tell me he didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Exactly. Kemper quickly became a favorite among his psychiatrists, exhibiting model prisoner behavior. They praised him for being a hard worker, saying that he took pride in his work, which wasn't typical in a sociopath. So clearly he wasn't a sociopath if, he's doing something out of the norm. He was even trained to administer psychiatric tests on other inmates. Because, you should always trust a murderer to treat others good.
Big eye roll.
Which is like if y'all just diagnosed him with all this, you're really going to trust him to do that? Like, what is wrong with y'all?
I really feel like they we talked about this before. Yeah. Like off air or whatever this is called. But like.
Behind the scenes.
Right. Like, I really feel like they equipped him with the abilities
exactly
to do what he does in later on.
I mean, it was like the late 60s, early 70s. I feel like they were pushing the boundaries. They were like testing the limits. Like, well, we know what he might be capable of, so let's like take him there.
That's why I feel like there's some type of conspiracy theory.
Population control?
Yeah, like it was like, oh, we know this nigga crazy. Let's put him out there. just let him do his thing. There's too many educated women. Let him kill them all. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
So apparently, there were tests such as the overt hostility scale, which were created due to his work with the Atascadero psychiatrist. Kemper would later state that understanding how these tests work allowed him to manipulate the psychiatrist, and he even learned from other sex offenders. Wait, what? Oh, he learned from the other sex offenders. My bad.
Yeah, so he performed tests on sex offenders, so he learned techniques from them. Yeah.
See, yeah, so they were like plying. Because it's like, why would you expose this guy where like at this point he hadn't had any like sexually driven crimes yet? Like especially when killing his grandparents. Why would you like allow him to be in the room with other sex offenders?
Especially at that age, because at that age is when you first start getting those urges and everything else.
So his intelligence allotted him membership to the United States Junior Chamber while he was still in the psychiatric hospital, which was a leadership training program that emphasized on business development, management skills, community service, and international connections.
Yeah, because this is another thing, like I said before, I feel like this gave him the tools he needed.
Yeah.
Because it's clear that he learned how to speak to certain people and things like that as being a part of this organization. So I feel like it gave him the tools he needed to manipulate authority.
But maybe they didn't realize what they were doing, and maybe it was more of like, well, this guy doesn't know how to communicate with people. But
you're a psychologist. You're supposed to know that.
True shit.
Like, that's the part that doesn't make any sense to me, because he was able to not only manipulate the psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever, and the police, but like everybody. Right. Like, that's how he got his victims to feel comfortable, because he learned ways to talk to them.
This is true. True shit.
So let's get into the time between those earlier crimes and the crimes. Yeah, the crimes that he's known for.
The interesting parts.
So, Kemper was released on parole on December 18th of 1969 on his 21st birthday.
You said 69 you?
Yes, I did.
Hey. My bad.
You want to get off your phone there? But yeah, he was... I was going to make a Tekashi 6ix9ine joke, but I couldn't find one, so we're just going to move on.
Damn, my bad. Did I ruin it?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I was like 69, but I fucked it up. So,
69. We're too immature for this.
So he was released on his 21st birthday under the care of his mom, who was fresh from a new divorce, so she got married again while he was in jail.
Which is just surprising as to how you find a man so quick.
Exactly. And side note, it was actually said that his psychologist or psychiatrists, psychiatrists were actually against him living with his mom, but they still let him go. I guess he didn't have anywhere else to go. I guess,
But it's like,
his grandparents were dead.
You should know that his parents are the reason why this happened. Like,
precisely.
Or his mom.
But, you gotta be released under someone when you're on parole. So
release him to the wild. I don't know.
So, so she was fresh from a new divorce and had moved to, Aptos, California? And began working as an administrative assistant at the University of California, Santa Cruz. As a part of his parole, Kemper attended community college.
Riri.
Yes, Riri. He hoped to become a police officer, but was turned away due to his size. Because at this point, he was like 6'9". Because, don't they grow until they're like 21? So, like, yeah. So he was 6.
Which is, like, insane to think about. Like, he's...
Damn near 7 foot.
Can you imagine? Like, his hand is probably as big as, like, my whole face or something.
I used to talk to a dude that was like almost 7 foot.
How?
And it was so awkward.
No, I'm sorry.
It was like
not do that.
Just simply giving him a hug, I felt like a child.
No.
Because you know how kids come up like low? Like I felt like a child.
No.
I'm only 5'3", so hugging a 6'9" person.
I'm 5'5".
6'11". I think it was like 6'11".
No, I'm 5'5", and I think I couldn't go over like 6'1". Anything over 6'1" would just be like, what the fuck?
It's just weird. It's really
like
awkward.
I want to meet you. You know how I am. Like I don't like to feel like I'm the the underdog, the small one or whatever. I want to feel like big and like.
Oh, you don't want to be submissive. You
basically,
be dominant.
Well, I don't want to be dominant, but I don't want to feel like it. Like I don't want to see myself as like, oh, I have to look up at you and you could kill me at any moment.
Oh, okay,
like,
I get you. Yeah, you don't want to feel defenseless.
There you go. I guess that's 6'9".
That's a big motherfucker.
A full foot. Almost half bigger. No! I'd run!
So, the police turned him away because of his height. And though he didn't get the job, he maintained relationships with several Santa Cruz officers, frequenting popular hangouts for law enforcement. Many of them looked at him as a friend and referred to him as Big Ed. Hey, Big Ed. And
Biggie.
And often invited him out for drinks and food. And he eventually landed a job with the California Department of Transportation. His relationship with his mother, per usual, was very toxic and hostile. And which caused him to stay at random places across Northern California, probably with friends or whomever. And he only stayed with his mom when he ran out of monies.
Which still was like way too much.
Exactly. The two had frequent arguments, and he later described them in an interview stating, "My mother and I started right in on horrendous battles. Just horrible battles, violent and vicious. I've never been in such a, what is it? Vicious verbal battle with anyone. It would go to fist with a man, but this was my mother, and I couldn't stand the thought of my mother and I doing these things. She insisted on it, and it was just over stupid things. I remember one roof raiser was over whether I should have my teeth cleaned." White people's terms for shit is funny. Roof raiser. So he eventually saved enough money to move out of his mother's home with a friend in Alameda, California. But this did nothing for their relationship because she continued harassing by phone and
which is
surprise
just like
visits.
insane. Like if you hate because clearly she proved that she did not love her son. I'm sorry. You berate your son. You tell him. You belittle him. You do this every other chance you get. Why don't you leave your son alone? Like, why?
I feel like maybe she did love him, but she doesn't know how to express it, and all she did was nag him and shit. I don't know, but yeah. So basically, she just kept fucking with him by phone and would just.
He wouldn't leave her alone, I feel like, and she wouldn't leave him alone. So it was like this like toxic relationship of like you can't get away from each other.
Right. I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand the phone calls and the pop-ups because I just wouldn't answer the phone or the door. But then at the same time, it's kind of hard to do that when it's your mother. So it's real easy to stay in an abusive situation when it's your own parents. So anyway, that same year he was hit by a car while on a motorcycle and badly injured his arm. He filed a civil suit against the driver and received a settlement of $15,000.
Which back in the 70s is this? 69?
Yeah.
70s? It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I wish I knew what the, what is it, inflation?
Y'all can Google it. We don't got time for that.
Yeah. $15,000 now is a lot to me, so.
Thank you.
So anyway, with that settlement money, he purchased a yellow 1969 Ford Galaxy.
Look, I feel like 69 is just like a key number here.
It keeps popping up.
Is like he was 6'9".
Do we need to step off and make a phone call or something? Like, do you need to go text babe? Like, I just don't understand.
All right, let's get back.
We're talking about Bernie here, and yo nasty ass.
Look,
nasty.
Keep saying 6'9".
Big freak ass. So, so since he had the car now, he was able to give people rides and embarked on his infamous murder spree.
Infamous.
Yeah, whatever.
Sorry.
Infamous. So, basically, he became an Uber of some sorts.
A freaky Uber. A creepy Uber.
And he started collecting tools such as plastic bags, knives, blanket, and handcuffs, but didn't start killing right away. He began picking up hitchhikers, like I said, like an Uber, and letting them go. According to him, he picked up about 150 hitchhikers before he started to feel homicidal sexual urges.
And he described these urges as a craving. And this is quote for like word for word what he said. There's a ton of interviews of like him once he's arrested and all that. And he describes it as a craving, awful, raging, eating feeling. He said he could feel it consuming him inside and overwhelming him like drugs or alcohol. Like, so those homicidal urges were just something like, it was that itch he couldn't scratch. Okay. It was just there all the time.
He also would call them little zappies, which...
And then eventually you would act on them.
Yeah, which, again, the names are fucking hilarious.
Zappies. Like, what? Is that like a...
So it sounds like a Yakubian term.
A Midwestern type thing?
Yakubian term. So we're gonna get into the later crimes now.
Yeah, I want to add on to what you said about his like picking up the hitchhikers and stuff. So like in that interview that I saw, he said his reason for picking up the hitchhikers was actually to practice his communication with women. He was terrified of speaking to women. He had no clue how to start up a conversation, much less a relationship with a woman.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Which baffles me because in my research, I found that he actually had a girlfriend during the time of these crimes were going on.
Which I'd never found anywhere. So it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, she was like a teenager. She went to high school. She was a teenager.
Well, then I guess that may explain
I guess it's probably easier for him to communicate with her, but the fact that he's using that as a scapegoat.
Exactly.
Like, you did have a full blow. I think at one point they were actually engaged. And I found an article which they were talking about how like devastated she was when she found out about him doing all the
holy shit.
Yeah, doing all the killings. I just didn't include it in my notes because I didn't think it was that important, but
I mean, can you imagine being her now? Can you imagine being one of these 150 hitchhikers who rode with him and then realizing that he's actually this terrible serial killer?
Yeah.
And it's like, that could have been me?
Yep.
Like, that's wild. But like, he said that like, it was practice for him, like the hitchhikers and everything like that. And he's quoted as saying, "I guess you could say this started off innocent enough. But with each hitchhiker, I went a little further." This is quote for quote what he's saying. At first, he drove to a secluded place, like away from the area that they said they were going. At first, he had no gun, and then later he had a gun. And so it's like, each time it was like a dare. Each time it got a little more like, okay, this time I'm going to go a little further. This time I'm going to pull out the gun. This time I'm going to, like threaten her with the gun. See how far I can get with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was a game for him.
Yeah.
Which was, it's just like terrible, sick. And it's like, stop hitchhiking. Stop hitchhiking.
I hope no one's doing that shit now.
Never been a thing. Why are you hitchhiking?
So, okay, question. Before you get into the later crimes. Mm-hmm. Because I see people do slugging. And isn't that the same fucking thing, basically?
I'm sorry, what?
So, it's something that they do. I only got privy to it till when I started working in VA. And it's called slugging. And
what are you trying to say, Nia?
No, I'm just saying that's the first time I heard of it. I guess maybe Bahamians are more trusting of each other. I don't know.
Fuck that shit.
But basically, it's like a carpool kind of thing.
Oh.
And you like stand, it's like a meeting place.
Zip car?
No, it's not a zip car. It's like people's personal cars. But like, I guess it's like, they all have like a meeting place that they know. And you just get in each other's car and just goes to the same direction.
Well, I've read about that like for college towns more. Where it's like, someone will be like, oh, I'm heading from like Northern Virginia to VCU, which is like Southern Virginia. Like, who needs a ride? I'm heading down at this day, this time, I'll take you. Which is just as bad as hitchhiking.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like college students trying to get back home. They'll do that together with other college students. But
it's like, how do you know it's a college student?
Precisely.
He could just put a little flag or a t-shirt on.
I don't trust nobody.
I don't trust, exactly.
I just wouldn't have gone home.
Shout out to mommy. Shout out Nia's mom for teaching us not to trust nobody.
Nope.
Okay, so now it's time for his later crimes.
Yes.
So between May of 1972 and April of 1970 typo 70 Kemper took the lives of 8 women. During his 11-month killing spree, he killed 5 female college students, 1 high school student, and his mother and his mother's best friend to top it all off. God damn it.
Icing on the cake.
Seriously. So Kemper said in an interview that he would often go hunting for victims after his mother's outburst towards him, and that she would not introduce him to women attending the university where she worked. She would say things like, "You're just like your father. You don't deserve to get to know them." Which, I mean, maybe his mom knew something we didn't at the time.
I mean, after you done killed your grandparents and the things you did as a child,
I will not introduce you to nobody.
Yeah, not to make excuses for the woman, because she's the reason why he is the way he is, but...
Or maybe, okay, so since we gotta hear both sides here, shout out Jesus and Mero, what if she knew something? What if, like, okay, because he can only say from his childhood what he remembers. What if he was doing shit since he was like 2 or 3 or 4, since like the moment he could walk, talk, and be independent?
Why didn't she get help for him then?
It's the 60s. The help would be shock therapy.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, back then, because we all know that like mental health is not a thing within like the colored community. Colored is not a current word, but you know what I mean. Like the ethnic communities,
Problematic.
the minority communities. Whereas for white folk, they've always been quicker to do it. So I feel like she had an excuse, and it didn't seem like they were poor. So if she knew something was up with him, she should have gotten help.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of the signs of a serial killer, they didn't know back then either.
Exactly.
He actually helped them
and we'll
build
get to
that profile. Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like maybe trying to sympathize with her, maybe she saw something. Maybe she knew something. Because as a mom, like, thinking that you're a good mom or whatever, hoping that you're good, like, you see certain things and you're just like, oh. And, like, the times and all that, it's like, maybe I'm just trying to be nicer.
I don't think so. I think she just didn't like men because the way she treated her husband.
This is true.
This is true. I just feel like once he did his first couple of murders and like the whole animal situation, then I would have had some questions. But before that, but again, I think differently. So we don't know. So
his first victims were Fresno State students Marianne Pesci and Anita Lucchesa. On May 7th of 1972, Kemper picked up the hitchhiking pair with the promise of taking them to Sanford University. He instead took them to a secluded wooded area near Alameda, about an hour away from where he picked them up, with the intent of raping them. But he decided not to, remembering that he had learned from a serial rapist while in Atascadero, because remember, he was in charge of assessing them, never leave a witness. So the two were stabbed, choked, strangled to death, and
this was after being handcuffed.
Yeah, after being handcuffed. Kemper was quoted as saying that while handcuffing Pesci, he brushed his hand against one of her breasts, making him feel embarrassed, and even said, "Whew, I'm sorry," in so many words. Which is just like, your intent was raping them, and now you're sorry for brushing her breast?
Whoopsie! Like, come on.
Whoopsie daisy, sorry to violate you there.
I didn't mean to touch your titty, but I'm still gonna kill you.
And rape you. The fuck? He placed both bodies in the trunk of his car and headed back to his apartment in Alameda. On the way, he was pulled over for a broken taillight, but since nothing was actually like majorly wrong with his car, he wasn't searched. So the bodies were there while a cop pulled him over, and no one realized this. Which, shout out to Criminal Minds, one of my favorite shows ever. They touched base on this at one point. They like show a little clip of it.
Oh.
Of like how the cop is pulling Ed Kemper over. There's two like trash bags in the back, and the cop is just like, "Oh, okay, nothing wrong here.
Yeah,
carry on, lad." Once he was at his apartment, he took pornographic photos of the bodies and, of course, smashed the corpses before dismembering. And smashed means sex.
If you don't know.
He then put the dismembered pieces, everything but their heads, into the plastic bag and abandoned them near Loma Prieta mountain. He held onto the dismembered heads a little longer, performing erumation. Is that the word? Erumation?
Well, basically, he fucking
fucked the heads.
well, the real definition of erumation is basically like when you're having
violating.
No.
Sorry.
So, like, when you're giving copy, instead of the person that's giving it, the person receiving it is thrusting. So, basically, you're fucking the mouth. If that makes sense. So, you just, like, you get what I'm saying? Does it make sense? Stop drinking your wine and answer me, damn it.
I'm looking away and sipping my wine because it's disgusting.
But, yeah, basically, it's like...
he's fucking the heads.
Yeah, he is.
He's doing the...
Yeah, but I'm just saying... Yeah, all that. But the term... just means like even if the person was living, this is what you do is when you're fucking someone's mouth.
And next time you come in there, you get some good. I'm gonna be like, he irritated you, Nia.
Ew.
Exactly. This sounds so much worse.
It sounds like you would die from choking because you have no control of like.
It sounds like some sort of gardening technique, like irrigation.
Irrigation. Okay, so go ahead.
So he fucked the shit out of them.
Out of the heads.
Out of the heads before disposing of them in a ravine near the same location. Which, what the fuck? Like, okay, I have a lot.
Just sitting there like this with the
I have a lot of questions. Is he fucking? Like where he chopped the head off? Is he fucking the mouth?
No, it's the mouth.
The ear?
It's the mouth. That's why I was specifying what the term means. It means the mouth. that term means...
Okay, we're going to get real disgusting in here. But when you're giving head, you know to, block your teeth. You're mindful of your teeth. If it's a dead fucking corpse, it's just like teeth everywhere.
Maybe he can control...
How?
I don't know.
It's dead.
You're asking too many questions, but it's not like...
I just have so many questions.
It's dead, so it's not like it can bite down or anything like that. So you
But it's still like scraping against it.
But the same way if somebody was fucking somebody's mouth and they were living, if they hold...
But then you would tell them.
Myra, let me finish.
I'm just like
You would just leave... You have to hold the mouth open. So if it's dead, I guess it will be stiff and it holds open enough for him to get in and out of there.
I shouldn't have asked. I'm so sorry.
Without getting scraped.
Damn.
Or maybe he likes teeth. Maybe he likes a little bit of teeth. Who knows? But basically...
I asked too many questions.
Exactly.
God damn, I shouldn't have asked. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, that's why I was trying to really explain what the act is, because it's something that is not solely done to dead things. It's something that people do to living individuals.
I need Jesus.
I'm just not okay with it. No one's fucking my mouth. I'm sorry. It's too much.
Bae. Shout out, Bae.
If you into that, more power to you. But I just feel like you run the risk of choking and shit.
Maybe that's what we... No, I'm just kidding. All right. Okay,
it's a little bit aggressive.
Maybe we like the feeling of... No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
We need a new podcast to keep talking about this, all right?
All right. Back to it. So on September 14th, 1972, Kemper picked up his next victim, which was, 15-year-old Korean dance student Aiko Koo. Oh my god, she was a baby. Mm-hmm. She decided to hitchhike after missing her bus and needing to get to class. Look, just get to class late. Look, just wait. Just wait for the bus. You're gonna be late anyway, or not make it. But okay. So she decided to hitchhike. He took her to a remote area, pulled a gun on her. Kemper had actually accidentally locked himself out of his car, but for some reason Koo let him back in. Yeah. Which I want to know the context of this.
He probably used that savvy wordplay he learned from all those things and convinced her to let him back in.
But was this before or after pulling the gun? I have a lot of questions. If you pull a gun on me and you lock yourself out, shit,
I would have climbed in the front seat and drove off.
Thank you, exactly. He then choked her unconscious, raped and killed her, and then her body was placed into the trunk of his car, taken back to his apartment, and like the previous victims, he had sex with the lifeless body before dismembering and disposing of her remains. By early 1973, Kemper was forced to move back with his mother after running out of money. As mentioned before, she worked at UC Santa Cruz and was now living in a duplex on Ord Drive near the campus. He continued his sting of murders, killing 3 more college students picked up from around the campus. Cindy Shaw was his next victim, which number 3, I'm assuming? I think that's number 4. Yeah, because he did 2 on the first one. True. On January 7th, 1973, she was picked up by Kemper, driven to a wooded area, and fatally shot with a .22 caliber pistol. She was placed in his trunk and moved back to his mother's home per usual. Well, not per usual, but he hid her in his closet, much like the pets he had killed in the past. Her body stayed there overnight, and when his mother left for work the next morning, he had sex with the body, removed the bullet before dismembering and decapitating the body in the bathtub, then discarded her remains by throwing them off of a cliff. Over the course of the following weeks, all but her head was found by police. Remains were found pieced together like a jigsaw puzzle, leading police to believe a power saw was used. Kemper held on to her head for several days, treating it like he did before, aka fucking the shit out of it, and then buried it in his mother's garden facing upward toward her bedroom. And in his later interviews, he actually said he did this because she always wanted people to look up to her.
Yep, so the head was facing her window.
Which, what the fuck, motherfucker? Come on now. News of the dead hitchhikers began circulating. Students were advised to only get into cars with university stickers on them, but Kemper had a sticker, of course, due to his mother working at the university. And he actually said that he would pick up girls from the campus, and often they would talk about this guy going around killing co-eds. They would guess what he looked like and why he was doing this and all that. And then Kemper said he couldn't harm these girls who brought out the killer. He was quoted as saying he couldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. And imagine being one of those girls nowadays, like I said before. It's just like insanity.
Damn.
Which, like I would think, maybe because I can read people, but it's like if I brought that up and the guy all of a sudden got like super stiff and like, oh, I don't want to talk about this, because he said like in the interview, like he'd let them talk about it, but he wouldn't join in the conversation. He'd just be like and wouldn't like express his thoughts, which is like, I don't know, red flag number 1. On February 5th of 1973, Kemper went after his next 2 victims, 23-year-old Rosalind Thorpe and 20-year-old Allison Liu, students at UCSC. Both got into his car. Thorpe. And then Liu, he fatally shot them with the same .22 caliber pistol as before, wrapped their bodies in blankets, and he took them to his mother's home as he did before. He beheaded them in his car, carried the decapitated bodies into the house to have sex with them, and then when he was done with the bodies, he dismembered it, bullets removed, and discarded it at 2 different locations, which were Eden Canyon and Highway 1. The remains weren't found until March of that year. When asked why he removed the heads before sex, Kemper explained, the head trip fantasies were a bit like a trophy. The head is where everything is at. The brain, the eyes, the mouth. That's the person. I remember being told as a kid, you cut off the head and the body dies. The body is nothing after the head is cut off. Well, that's not quite true. There's a lot left in the girl's body without the head.
Ah, that's creepy. That's so creepy.
And quick side note, apparently, like, he had, like, a lot of instances in his childhood where his dad would, like, cut off the heads of, like, their pet chickens, and his mom wouldn't make him eat it. So I guess
him eat the heads?
Yeah. So I guess that's where that little quote that he just said came from.
I mean, a lot of people from third world countries have it too.
But it's like, imagine having a pet chicken that you grew up with, and then all of a sudden your dad takes you to the back, kills it in front of you, and you love that chicken.
I know a lot of people who grew up in places and they had to go kill the chickens themselves.
I know.
And then
I also didn't find anything wrong, but I'm just trying to do
No. Okay.
Yeah. My mom had ducks and she ate them.
I mean, we talked about this off air again, like how I found like to me, outside of the emotional abuse, his childhood was not that bad. So I'm really trying to figure out how the fuck this happened.
Nature.
Okay, go ahead.
On April 20th of 1973, Kemper took the lives of his last 2 victims. His mother, Clarnell?
Yeah.
Strandberg, and her best friend, Sally Hallett. His mother had awakened him when she returned home from a night out, so go ahead, girl.
She partying it up.
She was living it up.
Living her best life.
Kemper said he went into her bedroom where she was sitting in the bed reading a book, and when she noticed him, she said, I suppose you're going to want to sit up and talk all night. He replied by saying no, good night. But her comment solidified his want to kill her, and the decision was made a week prior after picking up the 2 girls and letting them go.
Yeah, it was also said that his mom said something to him like, she hadn't had sex with a man in 7 years thanks to you, my murderous son. That's a bit of a low blow, bruh.
Why are you talking to your child about your sex life?
Yeah, I don't want to know that.
I don't understand that.
At all.
Like, I love my mother to death, but every time she wants to talk about sex, I'm just like...
It has to be even worse because your parents are still together, so it's like sex with your dad. It's like,
look, when I realized what happened in order for my younger brothers to be here, it was disturbing. Because so the oldest one I didn't really know. when the little one came along, I was just like, so they're fucking. And so, like, sometimes in the middle of the night, you'll hear the bathroom fan go on. And I'm just like, is this the wash up? Like, what is going on?
Ew.
It is disturbing. It is disturbing, let me tell you. It will fuck you up. I've never seen him. But just knowing.
I've walked in on a parent before. It's not good.
I'm surprised you're not out here killing people. Because
clearly,
look, my mom will go into detail about like things in their past, and I'll just be like, no, this is not what's gonna happen today.
I always shut my parents down when they try to get talking to me about
I have tried, but my mom has a way of just like always getting her, like just finishing the conversation, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm gonna go
help
drink.
Me please. Help me please.
Drink now. This is why I keep wine in my room at all times. I'm gonna drink myself to sleep and hope that tomorrow I forget this.
I just don't understand why she equated that with her son. Like maybe
you just ain't shit. How about that?
Maybe she said that because she was afraid of getting pregnant again or some shit. I don't fucking know. But why would you equate that?
What about your daughters?
Well, they're not murderers, like she specifically said.
Because she probably didn't treat them like that bad.
No, because I guess it wouldn't have mattered. They would have been coddled into gayness.
True that. Oh, okay. So, Kemper waited for his mother to fall asleep, returned to her room, and slit her throat with a knife. He then decapitated her and humiliated her head, as he did all of his other victims, aka he fucked the brains out of it.
Why do you gotta keep pointing that out?
Because I need people to know. He then placed her head on a shelf and yelled at it for hours, using it as a dartboard, and ultimately bashed her face in using a claw hammer. He also cut out her tongue and larynx, then put them in the garbage disposal, but the disposal could not break down the tough vocal cords and ejected it into the sink.
Why are you getting so dramatic here?
Because
Myra's being really theatrical over here.
Because Kemper then said, as much as she bitched and screamed and yelled at me for so many years, this was like appropriate. It's like the sink couldn't take her shit anymore. It's like the sink was also fed up with her shit. It just like he was like, all right, I'm gonna kill my mom. I know it's wrong, but then it's like the sink just like.
The sink didn't want to deal with her bullshit either.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yo, I wish y'all could see her. She's so theatrical over here.
Do you hear the swishies? Okay, lastly, he had sex with his mother's corpse. And that's probably because of her comment of not having had sex for 7 years with a man.
Yep.
And then he was like, apparently he went and was like, after he finished, he was like, there. He was like, toma. This is what you wanted, bitch. You ain't had sex for 7 years. I just fucked the shit out of you.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. He hid the body in the closet and went out for drinks with some of his co-op friends.
His cop friends.
Oh, cop friends. Look, okay, I'm sorry.
You getting sleepy?
I'm getting turned. I'm getting turned.
It's the wines.
When he returned, he invited his mother's friend, Sally, over to the house for dinner and a movie. Was this Netflix and chill back in the day?
That's what I think. But why the hell would you pull up when your friend's son called you? She was trying to get some of that 6ix9ine.
No! What if his mom was like low-key in love with him and was like, yo, my son gotta...
I mean, she did change. He got that thump.
Oh my god, okay. You know about that thump, you?
No, I don't. Shut up.
I hear it sometimes when I'm
This podcast is not appropriate for your shenanigans. Okay.
Okay, when Sally arrived, Kemper strangled her, decapitated her, and spent the night with her. Was he like cuddling? Was he spooning the body?
I feel like they were implying that he probably fucked her body the entire night.
Which again, I have a lot of questions.
He was touching on her body. Touching on her body.
Oh my god. He later stuffed Sally's corpse in a closet, cleaned up any obvious signs of the murder, and left a note for the police, reading approximately 5:15 a.m. Saturday. No need for her to suffer anymore at the hands of this horrible, murderous butcher. It was quick, asleep, the way I wanted it. No sloppy and incomplete drinks. Just lack of time. I got things to do. No sloppy Tommy.
So immature.
We're going to hell. Look, I got my room reserved in hell. It looks nice. It's like
it's nice.
It's on point. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Kemper left for Pueblo, Colorado, where Sally's car, driving east through Nevada and Utah, and at one point he ditched her car and decided to rent a green Chevy Impala. Once in Colorado, he decided to call the police and confess to the murder of his mother, and after noticing that there were no reports of her death in the news. So I guess he either he was worried that no one knew about his mom's death, or he wanted credit for it.
Yeah, I feel like it was a combination. Like maybe he felt some kind of way, or maybe not.
No, he fucked her head, he fucked her body, and he threw her throat in the garbage disposal.
Yeah, I feel like. Well, he made it clear that he wanted to get caught at this point.
That's true.
So yeah, I feel like he was just like, well, damn, they ain't find the shit yet. Let me just go ahead and snitch.
Exactly.
So we're gonna get into his confession. These are his confessions and his arrest. So on October 23rd, 1973, the Santa Cruz Policia received.
Look at you.
I'm using my Spanish. Received a call from Pueblo, Colorado phone booth. So from a phone booth, because back then they had cell phones.
Yep.
So he had to use them filthy ass phone booths. So their friend Big Ed was on the line, saying that he had committed a double homicide 4 days earlier. He explained that he had been taking no-dos for 3 days and felt half crazy.
Wait, what are no-dos? Is that a drug?
It's kind of like old school 5-hour energy drink shit. Oh. It's supposed to keep you up. No doze, like dozing to sleep.
Touche.
So, so he'd been taking it for 3 days and felt half crazy. He began to tell them about his 6 other murders that they had yet to solve, referring to them repeatedly as co-eds. He requested for someone to pick him up and then informed them of the 200 rounds of ammo and 3 guns he had in his car. Now, I don't know why he had all that shit.
Seriously.
Like, did he plan to have a shootout and change his mind?
Because he still, the cops knew that he had killed his grandparents.
No, they didn't. The cops didn't know that at the time. Because his, and I think I put this in my notes, that basically his childhood record was expunged at one point. So they didn't know anything about it. That's why they said the reason why he couldn't get on the police force was his height. It had nothing to do.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I wish I was surprised.
Yeah. It's somewhere in my notes somewhere. We'll probably run into it again. Yeah, it was expunged in 1972.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, his phone call wasn't believed, so he tried again a little bit later. And again, he wasn't believed as his friends thought he was pulling a practical joke. He called several more times and finally convinced an officer to check his mother's home by giving the name of Sergeant Alfie. Who had went to their home at one time before to confiscate a .44 caliber revolver. What the fuck? Why do you have so many damn guns? So
America.
Fuck yeah. So when word reached Alfie, he went to the home himself. As soon as he entered the duplex, the smell of decomposed bodies smacked him in the face. And the bodies of Sally and Kemper's mom was found just as he described. 2 decapitated bodies, battered and used for dirt practice. Which prompted Alfie to secure the area and call the cops. He is a cop, so detectives and the coroner. A group of detectives, including decided to travel to Colorado to pick up Kemper. he was being held by the local police. So he seemed to know he was dangerous and unable to control his urges and needed to be locked up. He even waived his rights to an attorney and was eager to talk. I think they said later on he claimed that he never said that. But
as is the case.
Right. A lot of times he be recanting, which you'll see. Kemper's confession went on for 4 hours straight. Not only did he give the details of all 6 murders, he even told them about the murders of his grandparents.
Jesus.
So, like I said before, he had to tell them because they were expunged. When asked what his motives were to turn himself in, he said the original purpose was gone. It wasn't serving any physical or real or emotional purpose. It was just a pure waste of time. Emotionally, I couldn't handle it much longer. Toward the end, I started to feel the folly of the whole damn thing. And at this point of near exhaustion, near collapse, I had just said to hell with it and called it off. Later, both psychiatrists and Kemper shared the belief that the young women were surrogates for his ultimate target, his mom, and the humiliating acts of his that he did to his mother supports the hypothesis. So basically, again, with his displaced anger that he showed throughout his life.
Right. So now we're going to get into his trial and conviction. So we're nearing the end of this motherfucker's reign of terror. So Kemper was indicted on 8 counts of first-degree murder on May 7th, 1973. Santa Cruz County's chief public defender attorney Jim Jackson was assigned to Kemper's defense team. Jackson had a lot on his hands trying to defend Kemper because of how detailed his confessions were. He was very clear about how everything was premeditated. Kemper planned and prepared for each one of his encounters, which, I mean, was true.
Yep.
Since Kemper had once been diagnosed as a psychotic, Jackson decided that an insanity plea would be best. His goal was to prove that he had not been cured, as his records implied. Kemper remained locked up while awaiting trial. He attempted suicide twice by slitting his wrist, but failed. And how do you feel, my boy? The trial began on October 23rd, 1973, which lasted 3 weeks. 3 prosecution psychiatrists were assigned to the case, doing several tests on him and even reviewed his juvenile records. Dr. Joel Fort interviewed him several times, and once under the influence of truth serum, Kemper told him that he had cooked and ate parts of one of his victims after dismembering them. This was later recanted, claiming it was part of his insanity defense, which, I mean, I guess he's a cannibal and a necrophiliac? What the fuck?
That's a lot.
What the fuck? Ah! I need more info on that. Fort concluded that Kemper was aware of what he was doing each time he killed, and he was actually thrilled by the fame that comes with being a serial killer. He found that Kemper knew that what he was doing was wrong. He showed clear signs of premeditation and found him to be completely sane. Kemper's younger sister was brought to the stand in his defense. She spoke out about their childhood and the strange things he would do, which I don't know how that would be part of his defense.
It would support the insanity thing.
Oh, okay. So staff from Atascadero, the hospital where he was held at as a teen, were questioned, but they stuck to the diagnosis and they gave him, and he was released. When he was released, they described Kemper as living in a lively fantasy world, but not a psychotic person. On November 1st, Kemper was brought to the stand himself. He talked about his mental state and told the jury his need to possess a woman and explained that his acts of necrophilia proved that he was unstable. He spoke on the sexual thrill he got from removing their heads and described killing as his narcotic. In the end, he expressed remorse for his crimes and told them how he turned to alcohol to relieve some of the pressure. On November 8th, That's my mom's birthday. Kemper was found guilty of 8 counts of first-degree murder. Kemper requested the death penalty but was denied, as the death penalty became applicable to crimes committed after January 1st of 1974. When asked why he wanted the death penalty, he stated that it wasn't a hard choice to make, and that he had been thinking what his punishment should be since childhood. Which, bullshit. That's
so
bullshit.
You knew you was going to murder?
Why didn't you kill yourself when you were little, my boy?
Or just murder your mother back then, and it would have been all over.
That's like one of my things. Like, okay, are we gonna get to that soon? Or
to the afters? Yeah, but keep going, girl. We almost done.
Okay, so instead, he was given 7 consecutive life sentences. Kemper was first imprisoned at the California Medical Facility alongside other serial killers such as Herbert Mullen and Charles Manson. He was later moved to a maximum security prison at Folsom. And my whole thing right now about that, his punishment since childhood was, like, okay, so, I mean, I guess this isn't part of the actors, so we'll reach into the actors now. Like, he said his whole, like, motivation behind all the murders and everything was his mom. He just wanted to kill his mom. And, like, that was one of his things, so why not kill your mom in the beginning? Like, why kill
make everybody
all these
else
women?
suffer?
Exactly. Why kill all these women?
Well, as you explained earlier, he practiced and did things before actually doing them. Like, he was one of those people who researches stuff before he does it. So maybe he felt the need to practice it to make sure he did it correctly when he got to his mom
and your grandpa, so you know how to kill. You've killed animals before,
but he wanted to do more than that to his mom.
But it's like, okay, I know you can't answer this, but I'm just saying it out loud. Like, if you kill the first person, you fuck their corpse, you knew that's what you liked. All right, now go to your mom. Kill her and fuck her. Because you did that anyway. Why did these people have to die? I feel like he's just so smart that it's like he knew how to manage people. He knew how to, like, talk to the psychiatrist, talk to everyone around him to make him like, oh, well, it was my mom and she was like the last objective or whatever. I don't know why I'm talking like that.
Vocal fry. Matt Kemper. Not Matt. I always keep calling him Matt.
Edmund Kemper.
Edmund Kemper has a vocal fry.
Like, I just feel like he's so smart that it's just like, this is what he wanted to do in the end. He just wanted to kill people and then ultimately kill his mom. He got away with it. And when he got tired of it and he realized he didn't really want to do this anymore, he was just like, all right. Exactly.
Oh, no. So, some more stuff to add to the actors. They said that at one point when he was in jail, he requested psychosurgery, which involved inserting a probe into his brain to kill brain tissue and potentially cure him of the compulsive sexual aggression.
Is that like a lobotomy, basically? It sounds like a lobotomy.
It sounds like one. So he requested this, but he was denied. I feel
like he would get off on it.
He probably like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it again. That just remind me of Futurama, because there's an episode where Bender kept plugging himself up to electricity and it was like in his head and he was getting like high off of it. Anyway, he requested this, but he was denied and possibly became some people believe it's because his attorneys feared that he would request a pension release or petition for release if he got that cured. Yeah. Sure. Cured. Air quotes. Yeah.
Big air quotes. Yeah. Huge air quotes. All right. So some of the after facts, little fun facts that we find here and there. Although Kemper admitted that his motive for killing was the anger towards his mom and his upbringing, he also blamed his inability to communicate with women. He was emotionally impotent, as he put it himself, and was terrified at failing in a relationship, which I feel like is just some bullshit.
Yeah, just stay single. We just said he had a girlfriend, so how did you fail? Which
now even like I probably should have put this out. I know he had a girlfriend, but it's like I'd like to talk to that girlfriend. Like, how was he? Like, was he emotionally impotent? Was he unable to communicate?
Maybe because he was so smart, he craved a woman of intelligence, or like, not saying the girl was stupid, but like the fact that he went after college girls, like maybe he wanted someone that he could communicate with on a higher level.
Why didn't he focus on like the graduate program? I'm sorry. That's so fucked up.
But that's what I'm thinking, maybe, because, like, his relationship with the young joint.
It didn't work out.
Well, I mean, they were engaged at one point. She wasn't, and I'm saying, like, he didn't kill her.
See, this is like so many, this is why I don't believe what he says.
I mean,
like, I just have so many questions.
You can't really rationalize these things.
This is true. But this is like what I try to do. I try to rationalize it. He also like admitted in these interviews that are floating around the internet that he was a friendly nuisance to the police. So like we said before, he had like a bunch of cop friends and he couldn't become a cop, but yet he stayed like in contact with him and all that. He would always like go and be like, hey, do you have any information? Like, what are you guys looking for? Like, what's this guy like and all that? And it was just kind of like to try and keep one step ahead. Yeah. And he actually claimed to have learned how to outsmart police for so long from actually watching TV. Watching, quote unquote, one too many crime shows. Which I feel you, bro. I feel you. I feel like I've watched every single crime show. I feel like if I wanted to commit murder, I might be able to get away with it for a little bit. Y'all keep following us.
Incriminating yourself on podcasts.
I mean, unless there's physical evidence. All right. So Kemper was actually integral to helping law enforcement understand the mindset and motives of serial killers. So John E. Douglas, if y'all watch Mindhunter and have read any of the books, he's a former FBI agent, and he actually interviewed Kemper. And if you guys watch Mindhunter, which you have to if you haven't already, they show this like perfect, like this actor portrays Kemper in such an amazing way, like right down to the voice, size, and everything. He's perfect. And like Kemper was one of the many serial killers that they interviewed to figure out what their mindset was at the time, what their history was like, and like he actually helped identify some of the common characteristics and backgrounds among serial killers, such as torturing animals as children.
Yep.
He was one of the few serial killers that was very open about his crimes, and he would actually, it seemed like he enjoyed doing interviews and answering questions about his crimes or his motives, and there are endless interviews out there. YouTube it. There's tons of books and everything like that. He's like answered basically every question that you could think of, and it's there. You can hear his voice. Like, everything is out there. And he became a model prisoner at California Medical Facility, where he was in charge of scheduling other inmates' appointments with psychiatrists. And he spent over 5,000 hours narrating books on tape for the blind, which was
crazy.
Amazing.
I gotta find one of these books just to listen to it.
If you hear his voice, it's like a very, I feel bad saying, it's a very soothing voice. It's like what you want to hear from an Audible book.
Really?
Yeah, because like all these Audible books are like very like monotone and like no. Edmund Kemper has that voice. So like me and Nia were talking about this the other day. Like we want to find these books and like hear them. Like, is it children's books?
Oh God, that's so creepy.
Is it like 50 Shades of Grey? Imagine him narrating.
He needs to do that.
50 Shades of Grey. I would throw that book down the sewer or something.
He's gonna add a line in about cutting their heads off or
oh my God,
or fucking their mouths.
69. He's gonna throw 69 in every other second. I'm 6'9". Oh my God. And if y'all,
he did have the blicky with the sticky, because that's how he was killing these people.
Stop it, ma'am.
What? He was killing them with guns.
Too far. Too far. How rude. All right. So the last fact. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Edmund Kemper is still alive and kicking to this day. He is still in a California state prison. He's still out there. He's still recording all these like audible. Like, I don't know why I thought he was dead.
Can we write him and get him on the podcast?
Low key.
Since he likes to do interviews,
key, but not low key, super high key. I feel like I wanted to do that.
And then we'll have like a kind of like interview with a vampire. We'll have an interview with a,
because it's like, okay,
necrophiliac.
What's the worst he could do? Write a mean letter to us? He's never getting out of prison.
I mean, we can get a P.O. box and start writing these serial killers and see what we can get.
Look.
What information?
Ew, what if they start talking all sexual?
and be like,
and they're white.
Then I'm gonna cut off your head. And be like, oh,
fuck the shit out of it.
Trying to make it all sexual.
Be like, my hip thrusting. I took Zumba in prison. All right, y'all.
We need to go.
All right.
This is getting ridiculous.
This is getting too much.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for listening. We really appreciate y'all.
Yes.
Like, we really appreciate y'all. Y'all make our days. Like, seeing these numbers go up and all that. Me and Nia be texting like, yo, did you see this? 115, 116, 118, 120.
It'd be like 2 extra listens. We'd be excited. but we do appreciate you guys. And
really do.
As we always say, please write us at AntiSocialMurderClub@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Give us your ideas. We do take criticism. Constructive criticism. Rather well.
We'll roast the shit out of you behind the scenes, but we won't put y'all out there.
Right.
But follow us on Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter. But I mean, we had people send us messages and actually gave us good constructive, and helped us fine tune our show, and that's all we're doing. I mean, we're only on episode 10, so we are really working hard to get
Shout
better.
Shout out Grey House for giving us those awesome tips. Grey House 777.
Oh yeah, and their podcast, Doing Enough podcast.
Yeah, they give us these awesome tips. All you Twitter peeps, we love interacting with you.
Yes, AS Murder Club on Twitter. If you're on Instagram, it is AntiSocialMurderClub.
Exactly. I think there's a Facebook that I don't use. But
I don't really update it like that, but they kind of made us get one with the Instagram. We're also on YouTube if you're one of those who likes to use YouTube to listen to podcasts.
And whoever gave us 1 star on Apple Podcasts, I know who you are. I know where you live. I will find you. That's it. Nia, you look a little scared.
Okay. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.